Is Leonardo as the Hunchback a work of art? Welcome to the channel, I'm Jonathan, and today we're going to be looking at the details, articulation, and posing of Leonardo as the Hunchback. Let's get into it. Leonardo as the Hunchback. It's another Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with Universal monsters, and this figure, like all the others, has original illustrations for the front cover. Here we have all the other figures that we know about, plus April has already been released and available in stores, but we have Leonardo, Raphael, Michelangelo, we've got April, this is Master Splinter, and over here is Donatello. The back of the box, now this is where you get into the shots of the figure, not illustrations. You get some fun monster kind of call outs. Just really cool packaging overall, as they've done with all of the monster series so far. And the bottom, which has very important information about who is involved in creating all of these incredible figures, and the same person every time that has done the cover art. And then a very unique call out on what to do here for the weapons. So be sure to pay attention, and let's see if I remember that when we unbox it. On the inside flap, you have an awesome shot of the figure itself. You've got me in the reflection with a ring light, so that's really hard to see. So let's open it up and actually get a look at the figure. And if you noticed from that box, maybe you've seen the other ones or you've got them yourself, maybe you've watched my other reviews, this is the thickest box out of all of them, and I'm going to show you why when we get him outside this packaging. As far as getting him out, it looks like it's going to be pretty simple, and while we might have to cut those because they're so deep in there, the alternative is some long tweezers to get these things out. On the back side is actually how you get all of these pieces out. It's not in the front like normal. All right, wow. So he has got a lot going on. He is a thick boy, probably the biggest out of all of them. I mean, look at that shell. That is intense. And he is not lacking on accessories either. We've got this pretty wild brain in a jar, both of his swords, of course, a couple of flame pieces, which I believe go on the swords, alternative hands. We've got more hands and more. We have a shovel, there's a bone, a skull, another shovel. So overview of Leonardo. He's got all kinds of stuff going on. We got a lock on the side of him. He's got a lot going on in the face. A little gross. So let's go ahead and get into the details and see what's going on with this guy. All right, so if you have been keeping up with all of the monster figures, and maybe you've seen this guy already because I'm new to the game, but he is not. He's been out for a little while. But look at the details. This is just always as expected from this mashup. So we got a little bit of movement in the bandana, which is nice. That head, that's going to be interesting with articulation. But look at this. I mean, this is a hard plastic, but it looks, even in person, like cloth. This is really well done. All the etching to give that kind of cross-hatched look. Like I said, if you've been keeping up with these monster figures, you kind of expect the details to be really top-notch. And this is no exception. We've got staples holding the clothes together. There's a couple more bugs, tattered pants, the details here in the cuffs. And then, of course, what we're all waiting for is what is going on with this shell. There's a lock on it. There's a hinge on it. And there's space inside. So the first one so far, of course, we haven't seen Donatello, but as of right now, the only one that has a way to get inside. So there's technically an extra accessory. Look at that little guy. It's like he's got a little face. But look at this, like a wood kind of finish on everything. It looks like you could put something in it. So this is pretty cool. Let's check out those accessories though. All right, so let's look at those shovels. Man, dude, they really look worn. Chipped up, dirt on it. They look like they've been shoveling a lot of stuff. And then the textures here on all of the wraps, the handle. I mean, good Lord. We got the other shovel here. Again, just looks like it's 50 years old of just being beat up and used every day. The little skull that we have, highly detailed for this little guy. Now there's a hole there. I wonder if we could put that on a sword or something. Bone that just kind of is alone that, you know, probably can go into his hand or something, and it is cracked all the way through. Are there any differences in the hands that have the same shape? So it looks like the staples and things are unique on each hand, but the pose, of course, is pretty much the exact same thing. Great detail into the nail work, into the joints, you know, the knuckles and things. So same idea, a little bit different around the cuts and staples and such. And then the hands for holding swords, those, same thing. Then we have this gross brain in a jar. Look at that. All the little pieces on here. It's all handled really, really well. I mean, that is a very skinny, thin piping going in there. Bottom of it, top is very detailed. But one thing I'm noticing is it comes out. So I noticed that when I was taking it out of the package. I'm sure it's supposed to be that way. Maybe you could find some like gack or some kind of weird, you know, like substance that you could put in there, not just water, because that would just get gross over time, but some kind of like gelatin or something that you could put down in there and make it look like it's floating around in some kind of preservative or something. I think that'd be really, really cool, especially if it's something that could react to light, maybe something that glows in the dark, or a night light reacting goo. But I don't know, maybe some ooze. If you've done something like that, hit me up. I'd love to see it. All right, the swords. They're identical as you would expect, but look at this. They kind of got little spikes on the end of that. The details in the wrap around the handles, the color work. I mean, this just looks like old dirty metal that has just been lived in for a long time. These two flame pieces, the torches basically. We're gonna turn his swords into torches. So let's put that together now. There you have it. He's got his torches, which wouldn't that normally be used against him because he's some sort of monster? I don't know, not totally up to date on my Hunchback lore, but that's still pretty cool. I wanted to check to see if you could get, and you cannot. So what I'm guessing is it probably is for this. I'll be honest, I have no idea if that's how it's supposed to be, but it's cool. On the box art, it actually shows the brain out of the packaging and in his hand. So a really cool way to play with that. All right, Leonardo, I am not sure about your articulation, so let's just get into it and see what we got. I don't have no hopes for the head here. I mean, it's more than I would expect for something. Now, all the other figures so far, turtle-wise, have had a joint in the neck as well, so you could move the neck. This one, I mean, he's a hunchback. You kind of have to go with what you got here. So you can look side to side a little bit. I mean, barely up. Pretty good down. And then you could have them upside down for whatever reason. The arms, boy, I think there's gonna be some real limitations here. So if you pull them out far enough, you can get the arms to go all the way around. Obviously, there's a lot going on with the shell and this lock back here. So you can get some movement, and then if you open it, you know, whatever, you can get some full movement. But up and down, as one would expect there. There's rotation in the forearm. There's rotation in the upper half of the arm. It is double jointed elbows, as we've been seeing with pretty much anything from the Turtle line, with the movies specifically, and with the monsters. The wrists, they all seem to have this kind of hand shape, so I'm now questioning whether all of these hands have the same staples and stuff and could be mix and match between all the other monster turtles. But great articulation if you take it all the way out. So great 90 degrees up and down. There's full rotation, of course. And then with the arms rotating, you get some pretty good movement out of these overall. If you're not familiar with the turtles and their elbow pads, they're pretty much gonna stop a lot of range. That's just how they all are. But he's got additional limitations going on because of the clothing and the shapes here. So he does have some limitations for sure in motion. Now, obviously, nothing going on in the chest or anything for movement. So we're down to the legs. You've got almost nothing. You can go backwards pretty well. The rotation of the legs, so in the upper half, you've got full rotation there. Double jointed in the knees, but those oh man, really blocked by the padding and the pants and such. Not a lot of articulation in the legs. He does have a bonus rotating calf area, which is cool. So just on the underside of the jeans, you can rotate. The ankles do not spin, but as far as their upward, downward motion, pretty good. I mean, there's nothing that should be stopping him anyway. So that's not bad at all. This side, it hits a little bit on that, but I think the articulation is still good considering this piece. Now, bonus articulation for the back, of course. We've got all kinds of things we can do. Looks like that's probably where that skull goes, so I feel dumb, but also now I'm smart because I figured it out. So before we get into posing as we normally would, let's just see what all we can stick in the back of him. So there we go, we're fully loaded on everything that we can get into his shell. I mean, obviously you can move these things around a little bit. This one seems to kind of lock him. There's like a little bit of a divot up there. Maybe there's a specific spot intended for that. I don't think so, but this is it. This is a layout. So you can get all of his accessories inside of himself, you know, aside from all of his plentiful hands and his two little flames. But swords go through the shell. That's really cool. And then you can just shut it. So there we go. Everything as far as accessories, the details, the articulation. So now at this point, what do? We jump into posing. All right, so there we go with Leonardo as the Hunchback. I mean, he's got a lot going on for him, plenty of accessories, lots of options. Now, articulation's limited, but the posing can kind of get bumped up thanks to all of these crazy accessories. So, when it comes to detail, of course, we have to give this a 5 out of 5. Every monster so far has really just been crushing it in detail. Articulation, on the other hand, that seems to be hit or miss. The articulation on Leonardo, we're gonna give him a 2 out of 5. It's not great. Even with everything he's got going on, the articulation is just incredibly limited, which puts us into posing. Now, articulation obviously can affect the posing, but sometimes that just comes down to the accessories. So if you got a lot of accessories, you can get the posing up. So I'm gonna give him a bump to a 3 out of 5. Thanks to all of the accessories. He can't stand in a whole lot of poses. Like Raphael, his knees are super wobbly and you gotta use one of those stands. Incredible work. So even though the articulation and the posing aren't the best in the business, he's still a fantastic figure. I think this is one you should probably get and put him on the shelf. So there we have it. Leonardo is the Hunchback. There are the scores and the overall score. What are your thoughts on this figure? Are you excited about how much he's got going on and can't wait to get him on the shelf? Or are you thinking that's a pass? Let me know down in the comments. We'll see you next time.